a group of issues related to the Department of Water and Power rate increase proposals. Almost a year ago, the Department of Water and Power of the City of Los Angeles came forward and said, we want to raise our rates. We want to raise our base rates. And we haven't raised our base rates since 1993. Well, the truth of the matter is that they have raised their rates almost every year, and they continue to raise their rates almost every 3 months. But the base rates haven't been changed. The mechanisms by which they raise their rates so frequently are called pass-throughs. As the Department of Water and Power has experienced increased costs of delivering electricity and delivering water into our homes and into our offices and into our businesses and into our industry, they send those costs through, they pass those through to the consumers. On the other hand, in addition to that, they have sort of a base rate, which is their bottom, the bottom row of their money, and they want to raise that up too now. Well, the neighborhood councils for the last 10 months have been saying, no, we don't think you should raise your base rates. You have many other things that need to be done first. Now, the whole issue was taken up before the City Council about 4 days ago, and the City Council spent 3 or 4 hours in deliberations, hearing an hour's worth of deliberations from 40 or 50 different people and different civic organizations in their so-called public comment. And then they spent almost 3 hours talking with the Department of Water and Power and hearing the opinions of the various 15 city council members. And at the end of that day, they decided, well, we're not going to decide today. We're going to decide next week. They also had received and had created 9 amendments to a very complex set of recommendations. And I think one of the reasons they didn't pass the recommendations last Tuesday, on March 25th, was that there was just too much, it was too complicated, and there was a real question as to whether the water rate increases would be needed at all. A court case which was heard yesterday, that would be March 27th, and has not been finally decided by the judge involved, would have had the effect of saying that the water rates that are transferred, the water transfer from the Department of Water and Power to the city is illegal. Well, if those water transfers are finally decided by the court to be illegal, and it looks like they will be, the Department of Water and Power will immediately have $63 million. So they don't need the extra money too much. But these amendments are to try to make sure that that $63 million is retained by the Department of Water and Power, whether the court agrees or not. And if that's the case, then the water rate increase is probably not necessary. Now, these amendments were written on Monday of this week. That would be March 24th. The City Council heard and saw these amendments for the first time on March 25th, Tuesday of this week. The amendments were not even known to all of the people, these 40 or 50 civic groups, neighborhood councils, who were very interested in the water rates until Tuesday. They weren't on the agenda. They weren't publicized. They weren't posted. It was only by asking the city clerk to give them to me that I can show them to you now. I presume other people could have gotten them. But the real problem here is that they weren't made public. On Tuesday the 25th, Mr. Eric Garcetti struck down the gavel at the point where all of these increases were continued. They weren't decided. They will be decided again 4 days from now on April 2nd. Well, the neighborhood councils haven't had a chance to look at these amendments. The civic organizations haven't had a chance to look at these amendments. I would wager that even the city council members haven't had a chance to look at them because they were written by their colleagues the day before. And so all of these changes, that court case which is hanging over their heads right now, are right on top of them. And I'm not even sure that city council will be in the position to make its decision next Wednesday, that is on April 2nd. But I am complaining, and I would encourage you to let your city council know your thoughts about bringing forward amendments at the last minute. Here, if they can cue up this video clip, was the way I expressed it to the city council this morning. Are you there, video clip? There you are. I'm here to talk about the Department of Water and Power rate discussion that went on last Wednesday. Last Wednesday, we spent over 3 hours talking about those rate increases, and then we're surprised to find there were 9 amendments that you council members brought forward. 9 amendments which had not been known to the public before that day, which had not been written before the day before that day. Now, when new things like this come forward, and you know that there are 66 of the 75 members of the Oversight Committee of the Department of Water and Power who are interested in it, you are blindsiding us, and that's not fair. That's not your best foot forward. When you address these issues next Wednesday, they are not on the agenda yet. The agenda for next Wednesday has not been put up yet. And I'm sorry to say that there's a serious lack of transparency, a lack of openness, and a lack of public awareness. Now, I will tell you very quickly, as my time is beginning to shorten now, that 5 or 6 of these 9 amendments allow for the acceptance of the original rate increases. Number 2, though, so-called 6B, the one proposed by Mr. Smith, is the one that really needs our attention. There is the lawsuit going on about the water transfer right now, which puts this into a little bit of a difficult position. But if the city accepts Mr. Smith's recommendation to avoid taking the money from the transfer, then the whole water increase is no longer necessary. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday when we can talk about this, and I hope you will then make it known to the
Thank you, Dr. Weissman.
All right, so you may have just heard me say about the same things, but I'm going to go back now to the amendments.